In college, I fell in love with two women, Ember and Isla. They were both beautiful, and I knew they'd do anything for me. Before graduation, I needed to make a choice. In a way, I felt a deeper connection with Isla. She made me laugh in a way that Ember never could. We were just more compatible. However, Ember was quite rich. In the end, I chose her. Isla did not take the news well. She was heartbroken. She cut us both out of her life and promised me that I'd regret my decision. Ember and I married soon after that, and for the next 10 years I didn't regret my decision at all. Ember took over her family business, so I didn't need to work. I could just stay home, living the good life. Everything was easy. But with Ember at work all the time, I got a little lonely sometimes. A man has needs. So, about a year ago, I started fooling around with my next-door neighbor, Helen. She came over a couple times a week, always in the middle of the day when Ember was working. One day, Helen and I were playing in the living room when a strange woman appeared at our door. I could see her through the window, staring at us. I freaked out, worried that this was one of Ember's friends. Helen hurried out the back door while I went through the front to ask who this stranger was. She was a horrid woman, grossly overweight and very dirty. She looked like she could have been beautiful if she hadn't completely let herself go. "You're cheating on Ember?" She knew my wife's name. Panicked, I started making excuses for myself, telling her that she misinterpreted what she saw. She interrupted me, a look of disgust on her pimply face. "You don't remember me, do you?" I didn't. I would have remembered meeting such a gross person. She refused to introduce herself, forcing me to take a long look at her and figure it out myself. As I stared into her eyes, I was filled with shock. This was Isla. She used to be so youthful looking, so beautiful. "Isla? What happened to you?" That was definitely not the right thing to say. She shoved me backwards and barged inside. Then she flopped her fat body onto the couch and waited for me to join her. I did. "I'm not a hot, young thing anymore, Rowan. After you broke my heart, I could barely take care of myself. You made me into this." She waited for me to speak, but I didn't know what to say. I felt sorry for what she'd become, but I didn't feel guilty about it. People get dumped all the time. That doesn't mean they lose all sense of hygiene. When I didn't say anything, she started screaming. She said that I never should have married Ember. Worse, she said that she was going to tell her about my affair so that I'd lose her, too. That thought terrified me. I couldn't let this woman ruin my perfect marriage. I dropped down on my knees. "Please, you can't tell her. Is there anything I can do to change her mind?" A dark smile spread across her cold, sore-riddled lips. "The only way to stop me from telling Ember about your affair is if your affair is with me. Since you're already down there, why don't you put that pretty little mouth to use?" She wanted me to... Oh, no. I was disgusted. Based on her smell, I knew she didn't take care of her hygiene. At all. I felt like throwing up. But I did what she asked. I had to. Afterwards, she left, and I took a long shower. I gargled mouthwash for like 20 minutes. Every day that week, she came back demanding the same thing. I always did what she asked, and I always felt horrible afterward. The fourth time she came back, I realized that she wasn't going to stop. She was using me, and she delighted my obvious revulsion. I couldn't do this anymore. As she stood in front of me and demanded that I drop to my knees, I grabbed the lamp next to me and slammed it against her head. I didn't mean to kill her. I wasn't sure what I wanted to happen, but that one hit was all it took. She dropped to the ground with a grunt. I'd killed her. I was mostly in shock when I wrapped her in a blanket. dragged her body to my car, and dumped her in the reservoir. I tied her to a bunch of rocks so she'd sink to the bottom. She was so fat. LOL. Then I went back home, cleaned everything up, and pretended like nothing had happened. The police found her body 3 days later. Ember heard about it on the news. She came home in tears and told me everything. Even though Isla had been out of our lives for so long, Ember still felt terrible. Who could do something so horrible to a sweet, beautiful girl like Isla? Isla wasn't sweet, and she definitely wasn't beautiful anymore. I tried to comfort my wife, but I got tongue-tied. I think I finally felt guilty for what I'd done. I didn't feel anything when I disposed of her body, but now all these negative feelings were hitting me all at once. Ember could see how upset I was. She hugged me and said, "It's okay. I'm sure the police will find her killer very soon. They always do." That was the worst thing she could have told me. Ember didn't go to work for the rest of the week. She could see how panicked and shaky I was, so she thought that I needed her support. She didn't know that her decision to stay home made everything harder for me. I couldn't look at her. I couldn't say anything. I was a nervous wreck. After days of this, she finally forced me to sit down and talk to her. She looked so loving and sympathetic. "Rowan, Isla's death has really affected you, and I think I know why. I'm gonna ask you something, and you have to be completely honest with me, okay?" In that moment, I knew that she suspected me of the murder. There were no other explanations. I nervously waited for her question. "Honey, did you love her?" That made me laugh out loud. No, of course not. She was disgusting. She wasn't disgusting. She was beautiful and kind. Back then. But in the last 10 years, she got really gross. Ember's eyes narrowed in suspicion, and that's when I knew I blew it. I'd told her before that I hadn't seen Isla since college, and now she knew that was a lie. I tried to think of an explanation, but nothing came to mind. I stammered for a while, which made me look really guilty, until finally I told her the truth. I killed her. I dumped her body in the lake. My wife's face went completely blank. Then she gave me a dim, sad smile and pulled me into an embrace. "Don't worry. No one else has to know." Without saying anything else, she walked out of the house. I sat in silence for hours, replaying that conversation over and over in my head, until Ember came back with a wide smile on her face. She kissed me on the forehead and said that everything would be okay. Her company had close ties with the police department, and she paid them in both money and favors to declare Isla's death an accident. She basically helped me cover up a murder, with no words of judgment and no strings attached. I know I should be happy, but ever since that moment I felt nothing but guilt and fear. Guilt for what I've done, and fear for what Ember will do next. I now know how deep her love goes, and how dark.